다음 순서로 수잔 니들 대표님의 글로벌 컨비네이션 프로젝트 랜드스케이프 앤 하모니제이션 오퍼추니티즈라는 주제로 강연이 있겠습니다. 수잔 니들 수석님은 융복합의료제품 관련 업계에 35년 이상 재직하고 있는 전문가이십니다. ISP 컨비네이션 프로젝트 코퍼레이션의 의장이고 ASTM 인터내셔널 컨비네이션 프로젝트 스탠다드 커미티의 수석이시며 유니버시티 오브 메릴랜드 발티모어 캠퍼스에서 컨비네이션 프로덕트의 석사 과정을 지도하고 계십니다. 이번 강연은 영상으로 만나보겠습니다. 흔쾌히 강연을 준비해 주신 수잔 니들 대표님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Hi, my name is Susan Neadle. I am Principal Consultant and President for Combination Products Consulting Services, and it is my pleasure today to present to you on the evolving global combination products regulatory landscape and harmonization opportunities. In today's presentation, we'll discuss combination products, also known as combined use products, combined use product considerations, the evolving regulatory landscape, and harmonization efforts underway. When we think of quote-unquote combination products, we think of the constituent parts, those that are based on biological products or life sciences, human cell tissue therapy products, pharmaceutical sciences like drugs, and engineering and technology medical devices like software as a medical device and other device types. In most jurisdictions, they treat biological products and pharmaceutical products as medicinal products. They regulate them as one. Now, when we bring these constituent parts or these medical products together, many medicinal products depend on medical devices for their administration, and increasingly medical devices contain medicinal substances to support their action. We bring these together with a focus on delivering benefits to our patients: vascular, wound care, drug and orthopedic, ophthalmic. There's so many different possibilities when it comes to combining drugs and devices together. Increasingly, regulators are recognizing that the higher technical complexity of bringing the medical products together for combined use requires strengthening authorization and certification requirements. That said, let's step back and understand some definitions. First, in the United States, when we think of the term combination product, it's interpreted as a product that is comprised of two or more differently regulated constituent parts. If you look at 21 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations 3.2e, it gives more detailed definitions. But those constituent parts are the medical products that comprise the combination product. So a drug and a device, a drug and a biological product and a device, or it could be a drug, biological product, and medical device. Fixed dose combinations, where you're combining a drug with a drug or biologic, are not considered combination products by this definition because they are not differently regulated constituent parts. A drug and a drug are both regulated as a drug. A biologic and a biologic are both regulated as a biologic. Importantly, the nomenclature and the regulatory frameworks for such quote-unquote combination products or combined use products varies across jurisdictions around the world. As I mentioned in the earlier slide, in most jurisdictions globally, drug-biologic combinations are considered as medicinal products, regulated under one set of regulations. Therefore, only in the United States is drug biological product considered as a combination product, but in jurisdictions where a drug and a biologic are both considered as medicinal products, a drug-biologic combination would not be considered as a combination product. That brings us to this combined use concept. Two or more differently regulated medical products that are to be used together or are being studied for use together to achieve an intended use, indication, or effect is considered as a combined use product. So a medicinal product with a device, whether it's single entity or single integral, physically or chemically combined or mixed to create one unit, or co-packaged together in a package, or cross-labeled or referenced, where the medicinal product in its labeling may indicate it is specifically intended to be used with a specific medical device, or vice versa. When we think about this concept of combined use, inherently, combined use medical products raise distinct or additional scientific and technological considerations of each medical product and their intended use together in the combined use context. That includes development of a control strategy that takes into account each constituent part and their combined use, and the regulatory approaches for the combination of the two constituent parts or more. The requirements that are imposed on the constituent parts and the overall product are the focus, ensuring safety, efficacy, functionality, and usability for the combined use product. Now, let's consider what are the things we have to pay attention to when we think about a combined use product. Three key things stand out. First is ensuring safety and efficacy of combined use. Sponsor collaboration and coordination, because many times for combination products or combined use products, one sponsor for the combination product is collaborating or needs to coordinate with a second sponsor who makes one of the constituent parts, and then labeling considerations for combined use medical products. Let's look at each of these. If medical products are intended to be used together, then their combined use should be vetted through risk analysis and controls needed to ensure their joint compatibility, safety, efficacy, and usability. Concepts of design controls, human factors, and usability engineering, and risk management are considered best practices to apply, and in some jurisdictions may be considered mandatory aspects of product development. For example, under 21 CFR 82030, ISO 13485-2016, ISO IEC 62366, and 14971. And there's actually specifically a combination product risk management standard called AMI, Association for Advancement of Medical Instrumentation, Technical Report 105, so AMI TIR 105, and ICHQ9 for the drug. When evaluating the product's compatibility, interactions, efficacy, and so on, one evaluates each product and then the system as a whole to ensure its safety, efficacy, and usability in meeting the intended user needs, intended uses, and use environment constraints, while also avoiding predictable misuses. Now, when a sponsor determines the need for their medical product to be used with a differently regulated medical product of another sponsor, then collaboration and coordination between sponsors can help ensure the safety and efficacy of combined use of these products. It is critical to ensure that the medical products function together for their intended use or uses, their intended user or users, and their intended use environments safely and efficaciously, as well as sustaining their market supply. Challenges may be presented where collaboration and coordination are needed between the sponsors of differently regulated finished products over the product lifetime. When sponsors co-develop products intended for use with one another, the collaboration agreements and coordination may be more straightforward. For example, a formal collaborative development and supply agreement may exist. Such collaboration and coordination may prove challenging or maybe even impossible in some situations, though. Such challenging situations include, for example, when the sponsor for one of the products does not wish to collaborate with the other medical product sponsor, maybe on a new combined use for its already marketed product, or to support a post-market change, or to continue to support the combined use. In these challenging circumstances, there might not be a way to launch or to continue marketing the combined use of the products unless one of the sponsors is willing and able to bring both products to market for the combined use. Labeling considerations for combined use medical products is the third key. What information and controls are needed to ensure the safety and efficacy of the products for intended use, and taking into account things like the intended use, interrelationships and interactions between products, intended user population, and use environment. Developmental and regulatory considerations for combined use products begin with what information and controls are needed to ensure the safety and efficacy of the products for that use, taking into account such factors as the intended use and interrelationship and interactions between products, the intended user population and use environment, and appropriate labeling of separately distributed products for combined uses flows from the analysis and study of the combined use. Labeling is not the starting point for this process, but is an outcome of it. In jurisdictions where separately distributed products intended for combined use may be classified as combination products, combination product status may be reflected in how the products are labeled for marketing. Such classification is not the starting point, though it may follow from the evaluation of how to ensure the safety and efficacy of the use. Importantly, labeling is viewed differently from country to country. Given the different interpretations by jurisdiction, one must be careful in inferring that the labeling itself dictates whether a combined use medical product is actually considered a combination product. This concept is reflected in the category of cross-label combination products under US FDA 21 CFR 3.2E3 and 4. Europe has a similar concept where medical devices that are obtained separately by the user for use with medicinal products are considered referenced products. In a referenced product, the product information, the summary of product characteristics and or the package leaflet of the medicinal product refers to a specific medical device to be used, and the specified medical device is obtained separately by the user of the medical product, the medicinal product. So looking at the global regulatory environment, what we see is that some countries or regions have adopted the classification combination product as a regulatory construct for combined use medical products. Others apply different terminology and regulatory constructs, but increasingly what we do see is that countries around the globe are enforcing combination product-specific regulations, and in others, the regulations are evolving. For example, the United States, Europe, South Korea, Malaysia, Japan, Canada, Switzerland, and China all have regulations specific to combination products. And there's regulations evolving in Australia. Saudi Arabia has put in draft guidance that mimics the United States regulations. Countries without specific combination product regulations treat products as either drugs or as devices, depending on the primary intended action of the product. And co-packaged and cross-labeled combination products may be regulated both as a drug and as a device. A key concept in the combination product or combined use space is called primary mode of action. Mode of action is the means and/or methods by which a product achieves its intended therapeutic effect or action. Combination products will have more than one identifiable mode of action based on the fact that they have more than one constituent part type or more than one type of medical product within the combination product. A primary or principal mode of action, PMOA, is the single mode of action of a combination product that makes the greatest contribution to the combination product's overall intended use or uses. And I've illustrated that in these diagrams by just making the circle larger for the constituent part that might be considered as the primary mode of action in the combination product. Primary mode of action is a very important concept that gets applied across most jurisdictions around the globe with respect to combination products, because it underlies which regulations you follow, the submissions procedures and pre-market pathway, the lead jurisdiction that provides purview or oversight within a country, development expectations and specifications, documentation expectations, and even post-market lifecycle management and safety and surveillance reporting. So you can see here some examples of device-led combination products or device primary mode of action, like a drug-eluting stent and a drug-coated suture, whose primary purpose is the device aspect of those products. Or on the other hand, medicinal product-led combination products that are devices being used to administer drugs, but the primary purpose of these products, like a metered dose inhaler, is to deliver the drug from the device or to deliver the drug from a pre-filled syringe. Now in Europe, similar to the United States, they have these different classifications: single integral, co-packaged, and referenced products. But interestingly, in Europe, there is no formal definition of combination product. Rather, each of these products is classified either as a medical device or as a medicinal product. We can see this in how the regulations work under EU MDR 2017-745. As it's explained, the European Medicines Agency, EMA, or the competent authority, the CA, has purview over medicinal products, which is any substance or combination of substances, basically that exerts a pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic action on the body. And the Medicinal Products Directive and Medicines Competent Authority have oversight for medicinal products. On the other hand, for medical devices, they are under notified body purview. So basically, any of these products that are not exerting a pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic action end up falling under the category of medical device. Medical devices are governed under the Medical Device Regulation, EUMDR. They require either a notified body certificate of conformity or an EU declaration of conformity issued by the device manufacturer based on the risk classification of the device constituent. Now, in between, when we start thinking about combination products, I could have a medicinal lead drug device combination, and these in Europe are only called drug device combination products if they are single integral, non-reusable medicinal primary mode of action products. For these products, you are required to either get a notified body opinion on the conformity of the device constituent with the relative medical device regulation, general safety and performance requirements, or the device already has a CE mark, in which case no notified body opinion is required. And that gets submitted to the medicine's competent authority in their overall decision-making for approval of a marketing authorization. On the other hand, single integral device primary mode of action, where the device is using the medicinal product as an ancillary substance, requires a scientific opinion from the medicine's competent authority on the medicinal product constituent part, but the oversight is under the purview of the notified body, and it requires a CE mark for the device. And finally, I could have a single integral combination product that's reusable, or I can have a non-integral product like a co-pack or a reference product. And for each of these, they basically require separate approval for the medicinal product and separate approval for the medical device. So you can see how it gets very complex. Now, another area of interest is borderline products, where in the combined use context, medical products that have combined characteristics covered by at least two legislations whose lead legislation within a jurisdiction may be unclear. So, for example, in this diagram, I have a medicinal product and a medical device, but I can't tell which one has the primary mode of action, therefore, which one would be the lead jurisdiction. In the United States, when we have products like this, we could use a request for designation process. You look for consistency with other products that have previously been classified as either drug-led or device-led. Or if there are no such products, then you would look to the constituent parts and figure out which one raises the most significant concerns or risks with respect to the safety and efficacy of the combination product. And based on that, which center of the FDA has the most expertise related to those questions. And that generally would be then assigned as the lead center. An example of this could be a drug-eluting contact lens, where I have a drug that has a purpose that's being administered through a contact lens, but the contact lens is also providing vision correction. So which is the primary mode of action, the vision correction or the drug that's being administered? Let's go on first, before I tell you the answer here, to also Europe's approach. In Europe, I told you such a product would be considered either as a device or as a medicinal product. The national competent authorities will classify these products on a case-by-case basis based on their composition, mode of action, and intended purpose. The European Commission may consult with the EMA, European Medicines Agency, or with the Medical Device Coordination Group in helping to make their decision. And interestingly, for a drug-eluting contact lens, the very same product, turns out that the US analysis of it calls it a drug primary mode of action, but in Europe, that same type of product is considered a device primary mode of action. Same product. So it can be very complicated for a business to be able to address these things. To further illustrate the complexity of primary mode of action, I listed some examples comparing United States, Europe, and China. A syringe pre-filled with a drug product in the United States is a drug primary mode of action. In Europe, it's a medicinal primary mode of action, but it turns out in China, it's just a drug. A wearable subcutaneous injector with integrated drug delivery system in US is drug primary mode of action, as it is in Europe, as long as it's not reusable. In China, it's a drug primary mode of action with separate approvals, though, for the device and the drug. The non-integral vial adapter co-packaged with a drug product is a drug primary mode of action in the US. It's co-packaged product in Europe, therefore you need separate approvals for the drug and the device. And in China, similarly, because it's co-packaged, it needs separate approvals for the device and the drug. Now, a bandage impregnated with an antibacterial ointment in the US could shift depending on the nature of the claims made for the product, but the primary mode of action generally is probably a device primary mode of action in this specific example. The same is similarly the case in Europe. Whereas in China, this is considered a drug. So you can see that for the very same product, due to the different varying worldwide definitions and interpretations, the very same product may be placed on the market as a drug or a medical device in one country and as a combination product in another country. And there's different requirements for the very same product. There's been harmonization efforts underway for a while. Back in 2016, the Asian Harmonization Working Party put a lot of effort into generating a document that talked about harmonization opportunities. Unfortunately, this effort pretty much died on the vine because there was not alignment in moving things forward. More recently, the American Standards and Test Methods Organization International, and actually it says ASTM, but it is an international standard setting organization, worked to develop a combination products terminology standard. It's still in draft, but it's actually in the final clearance stages. And some important quotes out of that standard are the following. It is not how a product is classified that drives the development, lifecycle management, and regulation. The requirements imposed on the respective constituent parts and the overall product should be based on the scientific and technological considerations raised by the intended combined use. If medical products are intended to be used together, then their combined use should be vetted through risk analysis and needed controls defined to ensure their joint compatibility, safety, efficacy, and usability. It may not be possible for international regulators to fully align with respected definitions and authorization schemes for combination products. But global harmonization with higher level requirements tailored to the various types of combined use products might prove to be a realistic goal. With that said, following the work that we've done on the combination products terminology standard, we've now actually kicked off another working group, which is focused on developing best practices for combined use products that can be applied globally. There's representation on this working group for the combined use combination product CGMP best practices by health authorities right now from Canada, United States, Europe, Australia, and others are welcome. If you're interested, please reach out to me. I would love to include you. The path forward. So as I conclude, increasingly there are mechanisms being put in place driving coordination between regulatory bodies within jurisdictions and driving consideration of each constituent part and their potential interactions for combined use, ensuring ultimately what it's all about for the patient, which is the safe, efficacious, and usability of these products. The harmonization efforts are in their infancy. Recently, the World Health Organization issued a draft update to their medical device standards, and under that, draft, it even indicated that it encourages regulators to work together to drive towards harmonization in this area. I mentioned already the ASTM International Combination Product Terminology Standard and the working group that we have underway to build a best practices combination product CGMP standard. Harmonized ISO 14971 for risk management that was approved in 2021, and this should help people globally work towards harmonized approaches in medical device risk management, and specifically for combination products. The approach under ISO 14971 still applies and is mentioned in AMI TIR 105 in conjunction with ICHQ9. And I put a question mark here because I think there's an opportunity for that to become an internationally recognized standard. ISPE has a working group developing a proposed harmonization for Module 2 for the risk-based QoS. And most recently in the United States, there was also an announcement of an FDA proposed rule to harmonize 21 CFR 820, the quality system regulations, with 21 CFR Part 4 and ISO 13485, 2016. And this really has a broad scope going from design all the way through product disposal. Specific to combination products, the conforming edits in the proposed amendment to 21 CFR Part 4 for combination products state there is no intent to change the combination product CGMP requirements in the regulation. And there's a note up here with a hyperlink that ISO 13485 2016 has been made broadly available using this hyperlink. So in the case that I have a drug device combination with a 211 based CGMP operating system or ICH Q8, Q9, Q10 based operating system, there are specifically distinctly interpreted medical device quality system requirements or CGMP requirements that the FDA talks to under 21 CFR Part 4. These are management controls, design controls, purchasing controls, corrective and preventive action, and for those products to which it applies, installation and servicing requirements. Under the proposed rule, they now reference ISO 13485 clauses that apply for each of these callouts. But again, the close is that there's no intent to change any of it. The FDA states that they will retain inspectional authority for these combination products. Their inspections will not result in the issuance of a conformity certificate for ISO 13485. And further, manufacturers with a certificate of conformance are not exempt from FDA inspections. So I'll close it with this. When it comes to combination products or combined use products, I think that there's hope for harmonization on the path forward, but you need to, at least right now, be very aware of the local requirements. The devil's in the details. Thank you so much for your attention, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email and my LinkedIn are here, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.